Well, hello, Tammy.
Hello, Megan. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So I want to thank you for joining me today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So today we're kind of going to go over basically from day one of the interviews from when Sebastian went missing. So we're going to pull up the first interview though. And so this is going to be of, we're just going to say CP and KP because I know at this point a lot of that is an issue right now. I don't know to
Right.
what extent, so
Yeah.
I'll just play the game for right now.
Right.
Is there anything that you want to comment about on this interview before we start it?
No.
Okay.
Parents of a missing teen in Sumner County described to us exclusively how they feel on day 8 of their son's disappearance. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Marius Payton.
And I'm Lauren Lowry. Sebastian Rogers is 15. He was last seen by his parents on February 25th in Hendersonville. Sebastian has autism, and he's gone without his medication this whole time. And since then, authorities have searched by air, by foot, and on horseback.
Helicopters, drones, and dive teams have also been brought in to try to find him. Today, his parents spoke exclusively to our Holly Thompson.
She's live tonight in Sumner County. Holly, I imagine it was quite an emotional interview.
Certainly was. It is hard for any of us to imagine the emotions that this family is going through right now. But we know one thing is certain. They remain positive. They are holding on to hope that their son Sebastian will return home safely.
Can you walk us through what you're thinking right now?
I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at.
Mom Katie broke down several times in our interview, but says her hope is strong that her son Sebastian will be found safe and return home.
He's going to walk through that door, and this street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
Stepdad Chris says it's been an emotional roller coaster that all started Sunday night, February 25th.
Pretty normal. He was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom. I love you."
Katie says she went to wake up Sebastian around 6 a.m. Monday for school, and he was gone. Within minutes, Katie says she was on the phone with Chris, who was working out of town, and they quickly called 911.
And he's not a runner. He's never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
I mean, he's a good kid. He's not a mischievous child by any means.
Katie and Chris say Sebastian is not on social media. While he loves to play Minecraft, they tell me he does not have any online capabilities. I asked if there was any reason he might want to leave.
We've been combing over that day and even the weeks before he left, and I hadn't been able to figure it out. He's that morning he was laughing and he was joking.
It's as if Sebastian vanished. No sign of him on any video throughout the community. Thousands of miles logged by law enforcement, canines, helicopters, even dive teams, and no sign of him. Chris and Katie tell me they've been harassed, people pointing fingers at them.
You're not in this situation. You don't quite understand. I wish people would step back, take a different wide open view, and not assume what they know. It's just better to stick to the facts.
Are you both in the clear?
I can tell you that Mom, myself, and the father have worked very fully and cooperatively with all agencies across the board. We have anything that they've wanted, we have provided.
What do you want to say to Sebastian? What do you want him to hear from you right now?
That we love you so much and we want you to come home and you're not in trouble.
Now, Katie did tell me that even though Sebastian does have autism, he is a smart teenager. He is highly functional. They say if you see him, say his name, say Sebastian, and he'll respond. He'll at least acknowledge you. And I can tell you, this is my home. This is my community. And the people here
are strong. They say they will continue to search, they will continue to hope, and continue to pray for Sebastian's safe return. And by the way,
Okay. So that is their first interview. Any of your first feelings or thoughts, first words that come to your mind?
Well, this is the most upset I see her
Mm-hmm.
through this whole year that, we've been following this.
I agree.
I actually feel like she's upset here, but she says, I don't know why he walked out of that door. So from the get-go, that's what they want, is for you to know that they walked out the door. They think he walked out the door. That's
Right.
from the beginning, from the first interview. That's what they think, or they want you to know.
Right.
But then Chris says, how do you know he says, how do you assume what you know?
I know that was a very weird way to say it.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense when he said that. And I was like, of course, he's gonna be like, well, I didn't mean to say it that way. But that was an odd way to, and he's telling on himself because he knows something, at least in my opinion.
Right. Right.
So that's like a new thing that we have to do now since I've covered something a long time ago.
Right.
So and even though this is bits and pieces of this interview, there is a full clip of the interview. And so the original notes I took was off the full clip of some of the things that she says. And I do agree, this interview, when I first watched it, of course, wanting to, find Sebastian right away, you do feel like maybe he did walk out. Katie does have where you do think at first, like there is that genuine maybe feeling bad or sad, you see that in that. So I think it's interesting that you say you see it too.
Yeah.
In the first interview. So, I do think she was, a little bit upset then. So, it would be interesting to know if she would have went into more detail about what was upsetting her so much.
Right.
Because she didn't really go into detail. She had to have things pulled out of her. And the things that she did give detail, like you're talking about, is rather worded odd, or it doesn't really make sense with the story.
Right.
Kind of how she says she didn't, he went out in the middle of the night, but then they tell you that he was wearing a certain outfit and left with a certain item.
Right.
How would you know that if you didn't see him leave? And again, you could say he left. Well, that's what he was wearing when he went to bed. Okay. Well, what about the flashlight though? Think about all the small trinkets kids have in their room.
Yeah.
I don't think I would notice a small little toy hand flashlight that, is like almost like keychain, like missing.
No.
And not in a situation like that. That's the only thing I would notice missing. I don't think I would. And, but that's just me, I don't know. But also when she makes the runner comment.
And never ran away. Yep.
Right. And we were talking about that as, because runner is not how I refer to it with my son. It was always wonder. He's a wonder. And so it kind of threw me off when she said runner, because I've never even heard anyone say runner in that instance of them just taking off and leaving. So school teachers will refer to it as wondering, teachers or doctors refer to it as wondering. So and Seth actually referred to it as wondering. He said that he didn't do that though. So when she said runner again, it kind of almost was like she didn't know what she was talking about there.
Yeah. For me, that would be more like a runaway child, like a child that has done it before.
Right. Like a police officer will ask you, has this child ran away before? So the likelihood of him doing it is great. So for her to say he's never done it before, but that's what he did. It's like even a police officer wouldn't think that of a non-autistic child.
Right. Yeah.
Why would you think that of an autistic child, especially one who's never done that, who basically depends on you for everything?
Yeah.
So
and he's scared of the dark. He's scared of the dark. He doesn't like bugs. And I know autism, and Megan, you know way more about it than I do. Would he go out barefooted? Don't they have a texture thing that they?
Yeah.
So
no, he wouldn't. I mean, if he's never done it before, he's not going to start doing it at 15 years old.
Right.
Like I said, again, when my son's, and I say like, I don't know if this is how other parents refer to it. I say that's like autism kind of set in, because it was like, it wasn't there. And it's like, he woke up one day and it was there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like a lot of people don't talk about either with like it is very much like the loss of your child in that moment, because everything that you knew them to do and all that stuff before, it's not there no more.
Yeah.
So like you have to relearn your child, you know, but everything that comes on with it. Again, Andrew did not wonder before that. He's never stopped since then though. And, and like we were saying, you know, a different time, he cannot control the urge to do it. So it's not going to impulsively come out of anywhere. And just all of a sudden I'm going to take off and do it. It's not like that. It's in that sense. He like Andrew will have the tendency to do it, but he doesn't even know he's doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
She said he did it with purpose.
Right. She said he left for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know what it is. And that's what disturbs me about her answer. And that's when, you know, looking at it at the time, I wanted to, you know, go with the flow of that story. But the more you look at it now, it's like, it just doesn't. And even when she says the combing, and I, you know, I've mentioned this to you before, the combing the weeks before, I don't like that either. Just because why are you talking about the weeks before? I don't like that again. And I'm not saying, and in my opinion, I'm not saying that it has to do with anything. People can say anything, and it could just be like, yeah, I tried to look at all these different things and find a possible reason. I just didn't, and that's fine. I'm just saying with everything else that's being said, that kind of throws me off. The runner comment, the weeks before comment, that everything was normal before bed. He was just so happy. He was just so happy I took him to do all his favorite things.
Yeah. It's almost like you're hinting that something happened a couple of weeks ago, but you're not saying that.
Yeah. So something changed a couple of weeks before that.
Right. And you're just kind of putting it out there, hoping people will pick up on that.
Yeah.
Or not pick up on it. But
and not look at what's happening right now.
Right.
Kind of like when we'll get to us further as we go on, but kind of like we're talking about what's going on right now with how some of these people who are not wanting to cooperate, as far as, you know, the step parent and the mother are kind of going towards other pages,
right,
other goals. So but it's causing a distraction is my point.
Yeah.
It's like, how much can I distract so we don't actually look at the main focus and the main picture, which is finding Sebastian.
Yeah.
And finding out how this happened, where he could be. And again, the louder that they get, the more you know you're asking the right question.
Right.
The more uncomfortable they get, you know. And I say they because he's speaking for her too.
Right. Yeah.
She's not coming out and saying, I don't agree with that, which she should. And if she had any sense, she would.
Yeah.
But she obviously don't have any sense, and that's why she's in this situation to begin with.
Because it's going to be harder to find him the longer they delay it.
Yeah. And that's what they want.
Yeah.
So, and that's what, you know, I was saying that I feel like they need to charge them with something as far as like, you know, giving false information or neglect or those things. And again, someone can come in and say, well, they can't do that. And this is the reason why. I guarantee you they can find enough things to charge them with that'll keep them there for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
At this point, how much more out of control is it going to get?
Yeah, it is getting out of control.
And it's sad, again, you know, just because, like we said, it's taken away from what we need to be doing.
Yeah. Totally taking it off of finding Sebastian and putting it just in a bunch of mess and chaos.
Right.
And you were saying too that that's not just talking about being a wanderer. It's not just something they do one time and then not the next time. That's a consistent thing. So if he was a wanderer, he would do it. He would have done it before. He wouldn't just wake up and start doing it. Right.
No. Not at all. It just doesn't happen that way. That's what I'm saying. Like the chances of him doing that is like 0.001% in my mind.
Right.
And again, you know, that's my opinion and that's how I feel. But I'm just saying I've never known anybody that I know who has an autistic child whose kid just started wandering out of nowhere, and they don't call them runners. Never heard that in my whole life.
Yeah. And
my son's 17 years old now. So, I mean,
yeah.
And then, you know, I get that she's using the we because she's trying to like include Chris here, but I don't really like the whole we crap constantly because he's your son. So you should be focused on just him.
Right.
So, and saying it as from me. is what I guess I mean,
Right.
because you're the most important factor here is you,
Right.
Mom.
And
So
she was the last one he seen.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like here, we have a special needs child here, and again, whether he is special needs or not, doesn't play into the factor that she should still be accountable for what happened to him. But
Right.
even more, because he is special needs, she is accountable for what happened to him.
Right.
Those kids do not wander off out of nowhere, in my opinion, in my experience, in the last 17 years that I've had an autistic child, who is a wanderer, have I ever experienced that or known anybody who's experienced that way. And so, I know it's just very sad that she took something that most parents who have autistic children, this is my nightmare. Like this would literally be my nightmares. And I'd wake up calling somebody. If he was with his dad, I'd call his dad and make sure to go check on him in his room, make sure he was there. She's used that as a spin to try to like deflect from what it is she doesn't want to say.
Yeah.
And it's gone on long enough. You are responsible for him.
Right.
They're not, as I'm saying, they're not going to just completely change pattern like that.
Right.
So, and again, even if he wasn't autistic, the police wouldn't even think that he would.
Right.
If he was a regular teenager, they still wouldn't buy the story. So why are we buying it now?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know why we're buying this.
Yep.
So, and why they're not being held accountable. Because if you commit a crime against an elderly person or a special needs person like Sebastian, you should be more in trouble. There's special laws for this.
Right.
So why wouldn't those apply here if he goes missing under their care?
Yeah.
And this is why I think that like they need to change, like something needs to be done in the laws. And I know this is like way out of my reach. And this is just me like putting the ideas out there, but like with kids and the way they're starting to go missing and the things their parents are starting to do and the things they are seeming to not be charged with.
Right.
I think that there should be something put into a thing like when a situation like this or like Summer, you shouldn't need a body. And I'm going to stray that out. And the reason I say that is not because I think that anything's, hopefully nothing has happened to Sebastian. He'll come home as soon as possible and everything, he can get back to his life with his father. But what I'm saying is that like you should know whether we find this or not, or this is the final outcome or not, you're still going to be held responsible because they are a child.
Right.
So they should never go missing and not found.
Right.
Ever. Like in your care. And I understand, kids run out, but I feel like those situations are very like, you can review the timelines and the parents and you can probably, for the most part, weed those out. This is very making no sense.
Yeah. And she was the last one to see him and with him. It was supposedly just her and him there. So it falls on her.
Mm-hmm.
Her watch.
Yeah. So it's interesting that it's gone on again, hopefully for, again, the right reasons that they're getting all the charges in place like they need to so that they can hold them for life.
Yeah.
Not more, because I did look it up and they do actually have the unalive penalty there.
Oh, okay.
So that's on the table depending on what's actually happened in my mind. Right. And they know that. So if I was them, I'd be kind of worried. Yeah. And I wouldn't be going on YouTube constantly like what's been going on, making fools of myself anymore. And I'm going to say myself and them because he speaks for both of them.
Yeah, he does.
And she is the mother. So whatever he says is what she thinks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she can say, well, I didn't say that. I don't care. You think it. You didn't do anything to stop it. You didn't say anything. Except the things he has said has been horrible. The things that she is saying, and I mean, it's just I've never seen such disrespect in a missing child case ever.
I haven't either.
And such a beautiful child's case too. On top of it, like I mean, he was so sweet, so loving from every and there's no reason that this should happen to anyone ever.
Even if
for help all the ways he should have.
Even if he did have behavioral problems, he still didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's a kid. Like you said, he's a kid.
Right.
And then the whole saying that you did spank him with a belt or whatever, like for lying. Again, he's a kid. You teach him right from wrong. You don't need to go to that extreme over something like that. And again, I agree with you too. I don't even think that's the true story.
Yeah.
Of why it happened. I don't think with the whole comments on, what he had to wear to school and sleep as far as the underpants and things like that, I don't believe he had an issue like that. I think that Chris was just him. He was being
I don't
himself.
believe he had an issue like that either.
No, I don't.
Because he took himself to the bathroom in the Texas Roadhouse.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. And he was 15 years old. So,
Yeah.
and if they have that kind of problem, it's not something that's usually like that. You don't see someone that at his level having that kind of issue.
Right.
So
I think he was very smart.
Oh yeah, way more than what and they give him credit for being smart in some things, and then they take it away in others, and that's how they're trying to tailor it to fit their feelings and what they want you to think and feel about it.
Right.
So, and again, that's where I say like it's kind of like using his autism as like a way to because most people don't know,
right?
Like every day. 24/7 what it's like, so it's easy just to say something, and most people are like I even saw horrible comments of people being like, well, maybe he got spanked with the belt before his diagnosis. Even if he did, what would that matter?
Right.
But that's ridiculous because autism sets in usually from the age 2 to 3.
Yeah.
And they find it from like about 2 to 3 to 5 years old. So like my son was 3, but I started noticing it like 2.5, something like that, maybe 3. But again, he was about 3 years old. He wasn't even 4 yet when he got diagnosed.
And my understanding is it hasn't been long since Sebastian has been diagnosed. So he's been going this long without maybe the help that he could be getting, or, because there's certain things that he can get help for, correct? Like learning and speak and a lot of things. And he was being, if he just got diagnosed, then he missed out on all those things. But he talked fine to me in the videos I heard him talking to.
And it just makes you wonder, is that what changed the behavior because of a diagnosis?
Right.
And if that's the reason, even more sick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm saying. Like, he is more high functioning in the sense of speech and things like that than my son is. So I know that he was able to hold a conversation and do those kind of things. Like when they said, oh, well, say his name, he'll at least acknowledge you. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He'll understand you and acknowledge a lot more than that.
Well, he's not 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're talking about him like he's a baby, and he doesn't understand nothing.
Yeah,
he does. So, and as I said, it's interesting when they pick and choose to use that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's kind of sad that they use his diagnosis and the traits that come with autism to justify their behavior.
Right.
Is what's basically happened here. So also I noticed the reporter had made the comment that Katie had said, that even though Sebastian has autism, he's very smart. And so that was another thing, we were talking about just now, that they kind of play that even though he's autistic, he's still smart, but they'll kind of take that away again,
But does that mean just if he is autistic, he's not smart?
Right. That's what it said to me.
Yeah.
That's what it meant to me. They want you to assume that most people with autism aren't smart because that's what they think of them.
Right.
Not what other people think of them. That's what they think other people think.
Right.
But no, that's them. So they're basically telling you what they thought of him. And that's so irritating because how did they go this long with no diagnosis, and then all of a sudden when he gets one, then what? It changed their whole outlook on his intelligence.
Right.
And his value.
Right.
How?
That he's got to live life when he's grown and on his own.
And that's what she should have been doing, teaching him life skills, teaching him how to cook, teaching him how to do all these things that we all should teach our kids to do, but he's going to need a little bit more, he just, with my son, he's getting ready to graduate high school. I'm going to put him into a cooking class and a gym class and an art class and just different things, whatever. If he wants to do reading, he can do reading or math or whatever, as far as the more curriculum part of it. But I want him to be able to keep himself like going, like be active, be able to feed himself, like all those things, because I'm not going to be around forever.
Right.
So I don't want him to be overwhelmed by those things when he has to start taking on some of those things when he gets older.
And they talked about Sebastian liking food. Well, he might have been a good chef.
Yeah. And they're usually, yeah. And and that's the thing. Autistic people are amazing at certain things. That's where you get your like composers and
Yeah.
These people and your people out in Silicon Valley who are making your phones and your computers and all that stuff. They're autistic.
Yeah.
So you could have had, you have this beautiful mind that you could do anything with.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just discrediting it for I don't know what reason.
Right. And you have more experience in that. So you are very welcome to have your own opinion. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing.
Experience.
Yeah. And that's why I was saying, I felt like if there was more of a way to reach out to people that had other like kids with special needs and things like that because you don't have them in your area, like having the resources to get to people and understanding it. I feel like we need that more.
Right.
If you have a lot of these hotlines for things, like the unaliving hotlines and all these things, because those are serious things.
Right.
You do need that kind of stuff, but this is also serious.
Yes.
If people aren't starting to see how serious this is, then I don't really know, like what I don't know what the fuck they're looking at.
And
you know what I mean?
Like for me, it's almost like there should be classes that they say, okay, your child has
right
level of autism. You have to take these classes.
Right.
And I know you can't force people to do something, but it should be a requirement because that's your child's well-being.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, and again, with me having the autistic side, I would say 100% that I think that you should. I do think that you should have to take some kind of course and have some kind of like support system and like, not like you should be watched, but like,
right.
Like my son was automatically in programs. So I was always around special needs. That's what I'm saying. And like you're saying that he didn't have this the whole time. So that's where this system didn't maybe work out for this family the best, and like communicating and letting them know what they could do and the support they could get. But like, I just always had teachers that I could go to or aides or, people outside of there who were therapists, things like that.
Well, you have Andrew. How many years ago was it Andrew won prom king at the
oh yeah. They do it like every other year. So he got it again this year, but like it was like 2 years ago before that. So they do a special needs prom for them too. So Tim Tebow originally started sponsoring it. Now I'm pretty sure he still does it. For whatever reason, he only did it 1 year down here where I'm at in Texas. And but now the Christina Sullivan Foundation, they do a prom here, like pretty much the same thing. And so he went there again. We just went in February, actually, just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so he did the whole prom thing again and got his crown and everything.
Yeah.
And they give them, Chick-fil-A and all this nice stuff. And then they have a respite room for the parents.
But that's cool that they have that. I mean, and there's autistic children around Andrew, so he might have, he gets to talk to other people like him that understand him, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, in the respite room, you get to meet all the other parents.
Yeah,
if they choose to go to it, you get to meet all the other parents, and then like you're saying with Andrew, he gets to meet all the other kids while we're in there. And they come from everywhere. Yeah. Like it's not just here. Like they come from off the island too. So like it reaches probably like 20-mile radius out or something like that. And then you also like, it's not, and it is a lot of kids with autism, but it's like a lot of different things too, like Down syndromes. And so they get to see all these different kinds.
Right.
So like, I don't know, you just learn to appreciate your situation more, I guess is the best way to say that. You know what I mean? Like appreciate your situation and your children and don't look out to what something else is.
Yeah. Why did this happen or what it could.
Yeah, because
like this, don't look at it like that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just the saying is true. Things could always be worse.
Yeah, you can make it any situation bad or good.
And that's why I look at Sebastian's situation, and to me, it's almost like he didn't even have it to me. And that's why I think his teacher said that. It was almost unnoticeable.
Yeah.
other than probably little tiny quirks. You know what I mean? Like maybe little ticks or something like that. But other than that, I don't think that I don't understand. And maybe they use the autistic label too because they wanted to have sympathy for them. Maybe they didn't even really consider him on, like you're saying, they didn't consider it to be because it was so late that they were told it. But either way, maybe they just used it for sympathy. So I think they made it a big issue, and it would be interesting to know why.
Yeah. What changed?
Yeah, what changed about it? Why did that change anything?
Mhm.
And if he never got diagnosed, would it have changed anything? Is interesting to know, because I didn't really know that it was more recent. And
Yeah.
it's like, why did they even do that then?
I
Also,
don't know exactly how recent it was, but from my understanding, it wasn't too long before
yeah,
he went missing that he was diagnosed.
yeah,
But the time frame, I can't say because I don't know.
okay, yeah. So again, just real disappointing.
Yeah.
The way that they're referring to everything and talking about it, and then I guess we can kind of look at the second interview that they do.
Yeah.
And then see. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. So,
There's
yeah.
so much that, I go back and listen to it again and I'm like, really? So I think going back and listening to the interviews, you catch stuff.
Yeah.
And you know that you're just, because the first time you're listening to it, you're just like, okay, I'm listening to it. But stuff different. Like a year from now, we can go back and look at these
Yeah.
and say,
That's bullshit or that's bullshit.
right,
Yeah. That's
right.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of what it is for me though. Like I have a hard time because like people are like he says these horrible, horrible things, and I guess I just don't want to hear him. Like I don't want to see him boast about beating this kid. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna make
Right.
me so fucking upset. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Like and that's what I'm saying. I wish I could rein that in, but right now it's still too fresh to me. Maybe in like 6 months I can.
Right.
I thought the motherfucker was in jail. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I saw him in the orange shirt and I was like, great, they got him. And I never.
Yeah. When he was in court.
Yeah, I thought he was in fucking jail. So I was like, great, they got him. It's all good. You know what I mean? And then I looked at it and I saw that it was still happening and all the stuff that was happening. And I was like, oh, this is so sad. I was like, I wish I had started that before I ever started the Madeline one.
Yeah.
Especially as Katie looks all stupid and jumping in the doors there. Like, I don't understand why she was letting him do this stuff to her kid. Like, who the fuck just sits there and watches that kind of shit happen? It's just like, what is wrong with you? That's what I'm saying. Like, did she mentally lose it or like what the fuck is her excuse?
Something. I don't feel like she's always been that way. I think she changed. I feel like something happened and what it was, I don't know, but maybe, well, I probably shouldn't say that.
What? You can say it because I'll edit it out if it's too bad.
I was going to say, in my opinion, alcohol can change people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that alcohol is an issue here. In every interview I've seen, they are both beat red in the face. They're very swollen all the time. And you can say, well, they're a little bit heavy. That's not the kind of swollen. Their face is swollen. Like, even if they were to lose weight, you can still see it. It's like that. Their cheeks are bubbled out, kind of.
Yeah, like they're holding fluid. Like,
like when you see somebody out at a bar all night, and they've been drinking, it's that beet red look to their face, and maybe they're drinking more now because certain things are happening. I'm not sure. I feel like their looks have gone a lot back and forth.
Yeah.
And that's a stress thing to me. That's an anxiety
alcohol
thing.
Will make you gain weight.
Yeah, and it'll also make you lose it if you start going on it binging enough, and then you stop eating.
And since and you probably want to edit this part out, since this year Edgar Chris he has supposedly went on a date. There is a video out there about him going on a date, and it was a really nice bar that he met her in.
The way he speaks to women is very odd.
Well, he won't interview with too many men.
No. And strong women, he shuts down. Like the ones who just won't have it, you can tell. Now, in an interview like this, of course, I don't think he would anyways, because he doesn't want to make it seem like now, I think it depends. Obviously, Nancy Grace, he ain't going to talk back. Right. Now, we've seen him on some of these smaller channels, he talks back. So it depends on what like, I'm not going to say authority figure because I don't think Nancy Gracie's an authority figure, but she's more up there than these
Right.
couple of, double digit, triple digit channels, whatever they are,
Right.
as far as the big numbers and,
Mhm.
100,000s, whatever they are, but I don't even think these channels are that big, to be honest. And I'm not saying anything about that because I'm not a big channel either, but I think it's very odd to go on these channels who are basically kind of just basic channels, like, standard brand channels for YouTube, and going out there and just kind of like losing your mind.
Right.
Saying all these inappropriate things
Yeah.
and thinking that you can just say that and nobody's going to come back and call you out for it. And then when they do, you go on a whole other rant again.
Yeah. Because
You know what I mean? And
you
it's
wonder
like,
why. You wonder
yeah, it's like he should be arrested just for these rants.
Right. Thank you.
Like my ears hurt. You know what I mean? And like I've lost so much time I can't get back.
Well, I mean, and we shouldn't be concentrating on that. We need to be
Right.
concentrating on finding Sebastian, and all of that arguing and cussing each other and fighting and threatening people and doxing people and looking people up is how is that finding Sebastian?
Yeah, and looking for problems. They're just looking for problems. And again, like it's kind of in the sense of, they're not helping Sebastian. Like you should be talking about him. What's the last things that we know, like fact wise, that we can go on? Where does that take you?
Right.
If that ends to a dead end, what other direction does it take you? Like they're not doing any of that. They're again, it's very like poor me, quit talking about me, and it's like they're only talking about you because you keep saying stupid stuff. You know what I mean? You should be out there like putting out flyers, asking for people to look for him, going to look for him yourself, all these things that y'all just aren't doing. And you can't be upset with people because they're like, that's weird. Like, it's weird. That's why you're on YouTube telling everybody to mind their business. And that's the thing too. They went on all these channels on YouTube to do these interviews when he first went missing. Like, why are you on YouTube channels doing that? Like, you should be on the national news. Like, what are you doing? So again, they're trying to almost play this innocent stuff, and it's like,
well, then people have a right to get on YouTube and discuss their opinions.
Yeah,
freedom of speech. We have a right to get on here and say this is what we think happened. Even if we get on here, and say, well, I believe they done it in my opinion, that doesn't mean they're gonna the next day somebody's gonna arrest them. But you have the right to have that feeling if that's how you see it.
Well, and then he's going out there offering all this different information that don't add up to information he's given before, like time frames of when he had disciplined Sebastian. And again, I don't think he should have ever done that at all in the first place, autistic or not. And then he's giving different time frames about it. So, I kind of feel like a lot of these CPS agencies, because it's not just in that state, it's everywhere that they have this problem. And I think that we were talking about, if you have an autistic child or even a special needs child, then you need to be educated in that particular diagnosis and what you need to do to help them. I think it's the same way for CPS. In the way cops now and firefighters and all those people are trained, as you know, because you do to deal with that. Yeah. So I think that it's the same thing for that as well. Like CPS should be trained how to deal with people with autism and not just assume, like how they kept telling. From what I saw, I didn't read the CPS reports because I don't want to read them because I don't want to. I don't
think they're out where you can.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as that though, like I don't really.
Right, you don't want to anyway, even if they were.
Yeah. But I do think that they should educate them more on that, because from what I know, that they told, or they had mentioned to him from some of these reports, that he was told to not overreact or don't, something like that, like don't, it's not as bad as you think it is, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And you can't tell this kid that 5 times in a row when he's telling you, like, I need help. You know what I mean? And I said, and that's again the saddest part about this whole thing. He asked for help, all the proper ways to get it.
And I think, I'm not sure what channel I heard it on, but apparently Chris had, or was supposed to at some point, go to anger management classes, and he never went.
Yeah, and so that's right there. He should automatically have something against him for that.
Right.
And that is true. Like, even like in a custody case and stuff, like, you're supposed to, if you're getting custody of a child, you're supposed to go to like a parenting class, especially with like a special needs. I don't know. My situation was a special needs kid. So we had to go to a parenting class, like when we separated with Andrew, and I went, he didn't, but nothing. I mean, they never said nothing to him about it.
Right.
And it's not like I'm trying to put it out there. I'm just saying, why
Right.
did, I went, we were supposed to both go, like whatever happened, nothing.
Right.
So I could have just skipped it too if I wanted to. I didn't want to though. And even the lady told me that when I got there. I went with my mom and everything because we wanted to learn, we wanted to know. Right. Andrew was just diagnosed autistic about maybe less than a year before that. And so, I mean, she told us even when we got there, it was a really sweet older lady. And then, but she was like, yeah, most people don't, she was like, so it's good that you actually came. And I'm like, that's sad.
Yeah.
That most people just skip it and they don't do it. They don't do anything. So what's the point of making it? I mean, I thought it was mandatory. Yeah. I mean, mandatory last time I checked means you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know how he got out of having to do it, but he did.
Yeah.
So, and nothing against him in this kind of situation. I'm just giving an example of how they say something should be done a certain way and then they don't follow their own rules. And this is what results in these kind of things because you don't follow the rules about certain things. All right, so now we're going to start this interview and then we'll kind of pause through this one as needed.
Okay.
We are trying to determine what happened when this young boy, an autistic young boy, seemingly walks out of his own home in the middle of the night, we think, barefoot. How did that happen?
Okay, here we go.
Yes, Katie and Chris Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother and his stepfather, who were in their home with Sebastian when he goes missing. To both of the Proudfoots, thank you for being with us. I want to go straight back to when Sebastian goes missing. Miss Proudfoot, I understand that the day before, which would have been Sunday, if I've got the information correct, that you guys went out, you went to dinner, you went to somewhere, I believe you said BJ's, where he had a, quote, colossal popcorn. Then you came home that night, and around 9 p.m., you tell Sebastian to go to bed. He says, okay, he goes to his room. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That night, I understand from previous statements you've made that you went to bed around midnight. Is that correct?
It is.
And to you, Mr. Proudfoot, Chris Proudfoot, did you also go to bed at midnight or before or after?
No, ma'am. We went to bed around the same time because we were on the phone together.
And
please
excuse any of my questions. I'm simply trying to find out more about that night. Do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
He wasn't actually in the home at all that weekend.
You were not home?
No,
okay.
ma'am.
So where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I can't stand how much she's trying to sound like innocent here with this like super quiet, meek, mild voice. And then she calls him Christopher.
Right. Yeah.
Like he's like, because it sounds more like, I don't know. Like
I don't think. I think that's
more
the
clean
only
cut than Chris.
I think that's the only time she's called him Christopher.
That's what I'm saying. I haven't heard her call him Christopher once, and of course in front of Nancy Grace. I'm gonna talk like this, yes, ma'am.
Right.
And Christopher said this. Like, come on, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Girl. That's what I'm saying, girl.
And she didn't ask her, do y'all sleep in the same room? She's like, he wasn't there that weekend, but that's not what she asked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do y'all sleep in the same room, whether he's there that weekend or not?
Yeah, because wasn't there a rumor they didn't?
I don't know.
I feel like I heard that, but I don't know. Again,
yeah,
I would say, in my opinion, I don't know what phrase I have to throw behind that to
that's it. In my
cover
opinion.
myself. In my opinion, they don't sleep.
Allegedly.
In the same room. Allegedly, there you go. Allegedly, they don't sleep in the same room, but that's just my opinion.
Right.
All right, so let's get back into this fake fest here.
Okay.
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
And what were you doing in?
And I just want to throw that in there. Kate McCann. It's 49.4 meters if on Google, to be exact. Talking about the space from the table to the apartment door. So I just wanted to throw that in there. That was another one.
Yep.
In Memphis.
Yep.
Right.
Working.
Where do you work?
I'm currently working, or was working, at the St. Jude Children's Hospital construction project.
Yes, I'm very familiar with St. Jude's. You said you were working there. Are you no longer working there?
Right now, that's up in the air.
Well, you've been gone ever since Sebastian went missing. So I understand. When you are home, do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a 3-bedroom home?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is your room as it relates to Sebastian's room?
It's on the opposite end of the house. The master bedroom's on one side, and the other 2 bedrooms are on the other side of the house.
Okay, so your master bedroom is on one side of the house and Sebastian's room is on the other side of the house. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you have a 3rd bedroom that I believe you keep for your other daughter. Is that correct?
Daughter he doesn't even have, correct?
That's correct.
And now he can't even have it all.
Right.
Because Sebastian's missing.
Right. And he will say something about the window that's always aggravated me.
In this interview he does?
I'm pretty sure it's in this interview.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that Faith? Is your other daughter named Faith?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So where is Faith's bedroom as it relates to Sebastian's bedroom?
It's in the back side of the house. Sebastian's bedroom is
So
on the
it's-
front side of the house.
Okay. So his bedroom is away from Faith's bedroom and away from your master bedroom. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Sebastian's room on a top floor or a ground level?
We have a ranch style house. It's a 1.5 story. So everything's half or flat, and then you have the bonus room above the garage.
Okay. So his is on ground floor, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See, I wonder if she's asking this too because she makes that story about the thud.
Right, because how would you hear it?
How would you hear a thud on a 1 floor? And people go, oh, well, you can't. No, not really. Like, you're not going to hear a thud really, unless it were to be like against a wall.
Yeah.
Not a floor.
Especially if we had the tile, the ceramic tile floors. I don't know what kind of floor she had, but I mean,
it looked carpeted from some of the pictures. In my opinion, it looks carpeted.
Right.
So I'm just saying, I think that's why she asked this, because that kind of debunks the thud story. And even if it did happen, it's not happening to me in the context she's saying it's happening.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, I think that's why she says that about the asking about how many stories there is to that place.
Yeah. So to know in relation to her hearing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see.
Okay. That morning, was there any sign of a break-in through a window, a front door, a back door, a sliding glass door, anything at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. No sign of forced entry. Was anything taken from the home at all?
Not that we could find anything. We couldn't find anything missing.
I want to circle back to Sebastian's shoes regarding if anything was missing. Do you have a burglar alarm?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a Ring doorbell cam?
No, ma'am.
I heard she installs security systems, correct?
Yeah, for a big company.
Right. So it'd be very odd for her not to have a security system on her own home, especially with her being in the Navy. Was it the Navy they were in?
Right.
Right. So you would have all that, especially like, I don't know. I mean, I have, again, because my kid is a wonder, I have a camera, a Ring camera.
Right.
So I know she said he wasn't one, but all of a sudden now he is one. So I'm a bit confused. But I feel like even if my son wasn't a wonder, still having autism, even not autism, I feel like I'd still have a Ring camera for my kids.
Well, my
coming
understanding
and going.
is that he kept one in the kitchen on
Yeah.
the side of the house.
Yeah, I heard that too, that there was also some type of possible camera or something like that inside. I don't remember where I heard it though.
And I believe she worked on some kind of security things in the Navy. So
yeah, they said something about electrical something, like she would wire things. Like so she did something like that. So that's what she was supposed to, how she got into that. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out too really quick. I have heard that since then they have been able to at least allegedly find some type of security system that they did have at one point. So I don't know how long ago before that was Sebastian went missing, but
because most probably whatever company you work for, all your cameras and stuff are free.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you use it?
Right.
Yeah. And especially in a nice house they just moved into.
And those big nice houses, odds are it was there when they moved in. They just had to turn it on.
And it's a good point somebody else made because they were in a nice neighborhood. And this is a bit of the contrast of the Summer Wells. To my knowledge, again, I don't know much about the Summer Wells where you can kind of tell me if this is wrong or right. There was not a lot of service and camera, anything on the ways they went. So that's why it was so hard to track what they were doing.
Yes.
Now with Sebastian, and I think that and again, this is just, I'm going off of what I'm hearing at the moment. I just feel like they try to give you the impression it's just out in the middle of nowhere. It's just so dark. That's really not true.
No, it's not.
And so they want you to think that. But the thing is I think they're hoping that because they're telling themselves that. You know how you keep telling yourself a lie, you kind of convince yourself it's true? Because they want to think that all this stuff, the routes they took possibly, or anything that could have been done wasn't picked up on camera.
Right.
So, but... they should know all these houses and these nice neighborhoods. Even like now, how many street cameras do you have? You can almost watch somebody drive from one place to the next. I know where I'm at, there's pretty much street cameras on every street.
Yeah.
So you can probably watch me leave from here and go 40 blocks over. And you can probably see what I'm doing in the car too.
Yeah. Well, they have to take pictures of you speeding.
Yeah. So for them to think that none of us in this nice fancy neighborhood didn't catch a thing. I think there's more. But yeah, I do believe that, like you're saying, probably a lot of these houses they moved into already had the system there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but her working for it ups the chances it was working at the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
100%. I mean, all the stuff they had, why wouldn't they have that?
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, all the electronics, all the nice up to date, everything. I mean, up to date cars, up to date houses. I mean, I can't see that not being there.
Right.
Especially a Ring camera. That's a basic these days.
And that's that's an expensive house. So.
Yeah. So to think there was no like eyes on it whatsoever from them. I mean, as crazy as he is, as far as like wanting to control every single aspect of what's going on around him and everyone around him, there was cameras somewhere.
Exactly.
Have the two of you taken a polygraph?
I have.
I have not.
And I'm just going to pause that because I believe that she did, kind of. Yeah. And I believe she did pass it, which makes me even more wonder, how do you not know?
Right.
Because you were there with him last. So again, she's giving you the story of she didn't see him walk out and that's why she doesn't know. But I don't believe he walked out. That's not even on the table.
Right.
So for her to pass that test, that's something else that sticks out to me. And then him was saying that he was told he didn't have to. I don't believe that either.
Right.
I think even if he would have been out of town, I think that they still would have been like, yeah, you can take one still. That's just me. I don't know, but I'm just saying I still would have volunteered to take it. That's just
right.
Me.
Yeah.
So just to show like I'm completely cooperating, and for him to go, no, they said I didn't have to, so I did it. Like, shouldn't you be the main one out of everybody taking it? I feel like he's the main one. So
yeah, right.
I just wanted to point that out too. That I think that she's playing that she doesn't know how he left, but I think she's lying.
And she may be honest in some of her. She may be saying, I don't know where.
Yeah.
That may be an honest.
That's an honest answer, I think. And that's my point. Yeah. She's being honest when she says, I don't know where he is.
Right.
But you know how.
Right.
In my opinion.
And who.
So, Yeah, exactly. In my opinion. So
Right. That's
we'll
my
go ahead
opinion
and
also.
in my opinion. So we'll
Allegedly, in my opinion,
go on. That we're not allowed to have these days.
and we have a right to say it.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to?
I've offered and volunteered on many occasions to take a polygraph, and I was told directly by law enforcement because of my whereabouts, I did not need one.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because I heard you say earlier, Mr. Proudfoot, that your neighbors have been very, very forthcoming with their Ring camera info. And I was
Yes,
trying to determine if any lights were on, what, if anything, they may have caught. But I understand from your previous interviews that nothing of any evidentiary value was caught. And also, in another statement you gave, I understand that the video of the 2 flashlights, and I'm saying that with air quotes, that's not exactly what that was at all. We now don't believe that 2 flashlights were observed around your home. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're very correct.
Okay. Question regarding your vehicles.
Just because he says very correct, I feel like that's a point he's trying to drive home about flashlights. Why are you trying to drive that point home?
Yeah.
Because that's very correct.
It is very correct.
Just like it was really a trash truck.
Yeah, no.
And then it wasn't a trash truck, right? I get.
It wasn't, because I know so many stories you can't keep up, right?
But I'm saying from him, it was a trash truck
Right.
coming from him, right? And then it's not a trash truck, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because trash doesn't come at 3 a.m. anywhere.
No, they come. I think somebody said they come at 5:30.
Yeah, ours don't even come out until it's daylight, really.
Yeah, ours don't either. Ours
don't come out till like 6 a.m. So I thought that was interesting that they even went for that. So I mean, but yeah, and I don't even think in New York they do it at that time either that I've been there. It's usually, like you said, about 4 or 5 a.m. they start.
Well, they even showed a trash truck in the lights, and they're nothing like that.
No. Now, I haven't watched the light video yet, which that's something we'll get to too soon as we get, like you said, further kind of into it. I didn't realize the flashlight video came out this long ago.
Yes.
I thought the flashlight video was more recent, so it must be the car. There's a car too now.
Yeah.
The car that didn't belong, that nobody recognized.
Right.
In the whole place. Yeah. So that's the video that maybe that's the one I'm thinking of that came out recently. So this flashlight video came out early on then.
Yeah, and it wasn't supposed to be out there.
And that was given by their own PI, wasn't it?
No, that one was given. Nick Barris put that.
Oh, okay.
Because he got it somehow, but it was not. I don't think law enforcement wanted that particular video to be put out, and it was.
Okay, so it's of importance then. Still.
Yeah.
I still feel like all of this stuff is of importance. Like you said, it's just like waiting and seeing how they're going to use it.
Right.
Because, like we were saying, and I don't know if it got into this live though, like with all of the stuff that has been reported, with the CPS and things like that, now all that stuff did exist and he's missing. We talked about they're going to talk to the teachers directly in the school, what actually was happened and what was said, and all the doctors. Did they ever have any suspicions? Did she ever act uncaring? Was there ever a time that you thought maybe it was from this, but it could have been from something else looking back because it added up? You know what I mean? So they're going to go ask all this stuff. It's already been asked. So they already have all these answers. And since the school is the one that reported it within February or whatever the last report was, you already know that they have been completely honest and probably have been collecting all their information and adding it up to just hand it over.
Right.
So I have faith in that the doctors and the school system will do their job in that part. The problem is with CPS, taking responsibility for the parts when they don't do their job is going to be the issue. So, but like we were talking about too, though, whoever the CPS worker that did come out, it should never have been the same worker. Anytime. They should have taken him out the home the first time and done that and looked through all of the allegations. And then after that, there shouldn't have been another time to take him out of the home. It should have just stopped, but that's not what happened. So we know that. So, but regardless, after that point, though, it should have been somebody different if that's how they were going to handle it, to make sure that every person was on the same page about this. And then again, what supervisor signed off on it? What supervisor of theirs signed off on this? Because that's how it also goes too. It's a chain of command. So all of these people are responsible. So especially when, like, again, because we were talking about Gabriel Fernandez, one of, another horrible child abuse, then I'm just saying it's another child abuse case in comparison, in the sense of I'm using CPS reports. That's how I'm comparing it. Gabriel Hernandez had 3 and 2, I believe, came from his teacher. So, and again, nothing happened with that. So, and to me, Sebastian has way more than that. And he was autistic, and he was asking for help. So again, it's going to be interesting how CPS in this particular situation go about it and how they're going to explain this.
And I believe the teachers were doing all they could.
I think that they did the best. And I think that's a shame, again, because they should be listening to the teachers before they ever listen to the parent.
Yeah, because the teachers are with them 8 hours a day.
Yeah. And they know this child and how they are, and that's what I'm saying. And I'm glad at least he had people at his school that loved him and saw his, potential, things like that. It's a shame these 2 idiots couldn't get it together.
Right.
It's sad. Like, they didn't have, again, I don't know what programs they have out there and what kind of things like that, but I do think that's something that would be great to see, some type of phone line, again, something that you can call and get support and all that kind of stuff, and find out resources near you. And so, and like you said, and then having the classes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a work van. Question to you, Miss Proudfoot, what do you do for a living?
I am an installation technician.
That night, was the work van blocking your driveway? Could someone go in and out of your driveway?
The van is parked at the back of my driveway, so someone can pull in, yes.
Got it. Do you park your Infiniti SUV in the garage or outside the garage?
I think Katie looks loaded.
In the garage.
She looks
in the garage. Do you
like
have an automatic
in
garage
my
door?
opinion.
Touch. I mean,
the clicker.
So feeble.
Hmm?
She acts so feeble.
Yeah, she's acting like she's gonna break if she talks too loud.
Yeah.
Or like if anybody raises their voice, she's just gonna collapse into a pile of nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's like playing victim still. It's like, oh, poor me.
And you notice the accent, the southern accent's gone too.
I did notice that it's not as strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that, which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You leave that up or down at night?
Down.
Could anybody lift it up? Like, is there an on and off button outside, or do you have to know a code or have the clicker to open it?
Poor handsome baby.
You'd have to know the code or have the clicker.
Does Sebastian know the code?
Not
He's
to
just
the,
always so happy and so sweet looking.
It's
just, oh, look at him. It's just like, you just want
What is he eating? Mac and cheese?
He's eating, it looks like, I think that's when he was eating tacos.
Oh, okay.
Because there's like, you can't see it with the little thing, but I was looking at different picture slides and stuff, and there's like a little thing with like cheese, and that's another thing. They make it sound like he didn't have this diet. Oh, he ate his sugar. I don't see this kid eating nothing but sugar in any picture I've seen him in. Not even at the Roadhouse place. He's eating regular food. So it's very interesting that they also kind of chose. I haven't seen the interview, but I did hear someone say that in one of the interviews, they make a comment that he ate nothing but sugar. Again, that could just be a free passing comment because, of course, kids love sugar. But
yeah, all of them do.
Yeah, so that's a given. Of course, he's gonna like sugar, and then my son's the same way. Like Andrew's like that. Like I said, in the sense he will eat like a lot of regular food, and then once he eats sugar, he wants to eat a lot of sugar. So but yeah, I thought that was interesting how they pretty much said his whole diet consisted of sugar because he's eating tacos. He was eating salmon, I thought they said, and all this other stuff. So how is his diet? So
I mean, but all kids will eat just sugar if you let them.
If you let them. That's what I'm saying. Everything, like you said, everything they could make a comment about is like, that's a kid.
Yeah, a regular kid.
A regular kid, just being a kid. Like I said, don't you remember what it was like to be a kid? I don't know. Maybe because you aren't human. I don't know.
Maybe you were. Yeah, right.
There are different species.
Right.
The garage door. but to the man doors.
Not to the garage door, but to the house
The
doors?
regular door, yes.
Could he have left on his own through those doors?
He could, yes, ma'am.
But I heard in another interview where Mr. Proudfoot said he was not a, quote, wanderer. He didn't wander around. He had never left the home before on his own. Is that right?
Correct. We haven't had issues with him running or taking off in the past.
See, even Nancy Grace calls him a wanderer. Like,
I know.
and she just gave them credit for saying that, but that's not what they said. They called him a runner in that interview. So
And she said it again.
yeah, and so, but Nancy Grace just said it properly, and then she just said it again, like you're saying, no, he's not. He's not done that. He's never done that. So again, that's her biggest hole in the story for me. That's when I was like, what? You know, because
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions regarding the doors. Do you have any home surveillance, anything at all that would have given us an idea or a clue if the door had been opened or not, or a window?
Not directly from our house.
Well, then from where?
That's what we were hoping, that neighborhood Ring cameras and may have picked something up.
Gotcha. I want to go back to that night. You said you were up till midnight. You were reading something. What were you reading?
Was that your TV?
A chapter for school.
A chapter for school. Are you in school?
I was, yes, ma'am.
No, I was saying that was a weird answer for her to say not. Did she say not directly? The cameras couldn't pick it up, and then she said, "Well, then where?"
Right.
And then she said the Ring cameras around the. So Sherry's telling you she already knew where all the cameras were.
Right.
So she just told again.
Ma'am, I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration.
Gotcha. Where do you go to school?
Nancy Grace's face.
DeVry.
It's like, what other crap are you going to tell me?
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone. You put the dogs away in a cage, a crate inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier, you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
And the only reason I'm going to say this too, if he really had to use, just say, a nighttime diaper thing or whatever, I don't think you'd grow out of the phase of checking on your child at that point.
I don't either.
I wouldn't have.
Mm-mm.
Now, I've gone through the phase where he was in it longer than he, because they're learning to use the restroom and stuff a little bit longer. They have to have that communication and the understanding when they have autism. But as long as they're in a pull-up, you're going to treat them like you need to check on them. I don't think you would break out of that. So I think, again, to me, that's another flag of just an instinct of that's a lie. As an autist, having an autistic child, that's a lie to me. So
And maybe she didn't make him wear them that night.
She might not have, yeah. And I mean, I'm hoping she didn't really make him wear them because I don't think he needed them. But
I don't think he needed them. Is that one of the questions, though, law enforcement may be asking? Like, did he have one on when he walked out of here?
Yeah, they would ask that. If it's something that you felt you needed to do, they would ask that.
Yeah.
This kid didn't wander off.
Right.
You think a kid who needs to be in a pull-up at 15 years old is going to wander off?
Right.
She's not doing too well here,
Yeah.
for me, at least.
Well, and I think the interviews is what
Got her.
got them to.
That's why she stopped talking.
Right. That's what I was trying to say.
Because, there's probably a lot of, people coming out with kids who have autism and they're like, you're, again, like me right now. Nothing she's saying is registering for me as someone who has And again, you know, maybe you said if the diagnosis came later, maybe that's why I'll give her that. But for the most part, still, she's not making sense at all. So I get having a late diagnosis. You might not be familiar with certain terms or behaviors, but she was around his whole life, her. So even if she doesn't know the term, she knows what it is. So,
Right.
So she's just fallen flat here all the way around.
Yep.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
A thud. You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there. Go to bed.
He
Is that
blinks
right?
a lot.
I
He starts getting real
was
nervous
on the
about the
couch,
thud.
which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what the sound actually was?
I do not know.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
This is it.
Mulch and bushes.
Did you say mulch or mush?
Mulch.
Mulch.
Mulch. Okay. Got it.
Got it.
Has he ever gone out the window before?
Full of shit, Roger.
Is his home, is his room on the front of the house or the back of the house?
Front.
Front. Do any of your neighbors' ring cams point toward your house? Could they pick that up?
They would have picked that up.
They do, but it's so dark that they can only see it. After it gets so dark at night, they can only see certain things where there's light.
How do you know?
I thought there were the two
Yeah.
lights on.
Exactly. How do you know?
On the opposite side of the house.
They're very detailed about where the
Okay.
lights were and how well they worked
Can we
and how
talk
bright they were.
about Sebastian's shoes? Why are you convinced Sebastian
Can
left
you stop
without
right here
shoes
for a
on?
second?
Or are you?
Well, the reason that came about is because all of his shoes are accounted for inside the house still.
Are you positive?
I'm positive.
How do you know what clothes he was wearing?
The clothes that we described are the ones I saw him in when he went to bed.
That morning, you woke up at 6 o'clock. Is that the normal time you wake
You can
up?
see the taco stuff there.
Yeah,
Yes,
now I
ma'am.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And could I confirm, where was his bio dad at the time he went missing?
I believe he was at work in Nashville.
Had there been any?
Why did she say I believe?
Yeah. She knows.
That's
where
on camera. He knows where she knows where he was. It's interesting. And even though it's not a huge thing, that's a fact you do know.
Right. You
So
do
why
know.
is that what you believe? You're so sure about how he probably left. You're so sure about everything how he left with what, as far as no shoes, you know, the flashlight, the certain. So
But
I think but you're not sure he was at work on camera.
But
even though
you
you've
were
already been
sure
showed at this point.
You were sure that morning when you called his job.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
sure then.
Yeah, Chris was sure then too.
Yeah. But the thing about the window for me is the window, if he'd have crawled out of his window, he's on the opposite side of the house.
Yeah.
And Chris says we would have heard him getting out of his window. How?
Yeah.
How would you have heard him crunching on mulch?
Just like how do you hear a thud on the floor on a, you know,
Yeah.
on a 1-floor house? So
Yeah. No way. No way.
Ridiculous.
From the time that you left for the job in Memphis to February 26th, did you visit the home?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I was home. I can't give exact dates. Law enforcement has told me not to provide exact dates, but I had been home multiple times prior to February. And
They
then
don't
I left early
No,
February.
they let you say whatever
and then
you
didn't
want.
come back till February 26th. The morning was
Who
missing.
the hell cares about if you were there 2 weeks ago? We
Why
want
would
to know.
they not want? Yeah, who gives a fuck if you were there on the 14th if nothing happened on the 14th?
Right. Nobody cares.
So again, law enforcement told me I didn't have to do this. Law enforcement told me I didn't have to do that. And you already know law enforcement tell me that. So you know law enforcement's taking notes on that.
Yep.
Idiot. That's what I'm saying. Big old doofus.
You're right.
So your car's in the same place. You get in the car, you start looking in the neighborhood for him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you call Mr. Proudfoot, right?
I believe I was already on the phone with him at that point.
Okay. Question. Who called 911?
I did.
You did.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
time?
I'm curious why she called him first. Has anybody ever asked her that? Do you know?
I think she just said because he's her husband, that's why she called him.
That's bullshit.
But
If my son wanders as an autistic child, and even if he didn't, the first person, and I'm sure this as you as a mom with just 2 daughters, if your husband was out of town and you woke up and your daughter was missing, would you call the police first and then your husband? I'd call the police first because my husband's too far away to do anything.
And he's gonna be mad if I don't.
Yeah. So like he would like yeah, that's the same thing with Chris. My Chris, like he would tell me to call them first.
Yeah.
And then, do what I need to do. You never, why would you call somebody who is 3 hours away?
Yeah.
To call the police for you? Like I said, and again, the repetitive of the number 3 for everything.
And
3
why
minutes
would-
I waited, 3 hours away, like
Yeah.
this on
And you're
3-way.
You're not going to call Chris and ask him to call 911.
No, not if he's away. Not if
She's
he's
like,
so
because
far away.
I was too hysterical to call. Bullshit.
You weren't too hysterical to call him.
Exactly.
So if you weren't too hysterical, if you were so hysterical, you wouldn't have been able to call him either. Like when like I said, and I was given, somebody else's example, when Andrew was younger and he was a wonder, I went into his bedroom one morning to wake him up and he wasn't there. And so I was like, okay, same thing. Well, maybe he went to the living room or the bathroom or whatever, walked around, he wasn't there. So I went back to his bedroom and I was like, maybe I just missed him. He wasn't there. And so I was like, I freaked out. And so I kept going to the doors. And even though they were locked, I still kept pulling on them. And I was like, maybe he still got out. And that was my only first thing though. He was a wonder. So I was like, he's gone. I was like, somehow he got out. I was like, even though the doors are locked, he's gone. Like he got out. And so, I just stood in my apartment. And the first thing, I just screamed his name over and over and over again. And then I finally went into my room and I had a bed that was close to the wall and he was on the side of the bed sleeping, curled up in a little ball. With having a son who wanders, the first thing, even though the doors were locked, I still thought he got out on his own.
Right.
So for them, again, they're kind of contradicting that whole scenario is the thing that's going on here for me that messes it all up for me.
Yeah.
So, and then her calling somebody else. Once I stopped screaming Andrew, the first person I had called was the police. Is my point with that. My parents lived a block over. Like you could literally see their house from my apartment. And I still didn't even think to call them, talk to them, open the door and scream for them. I just screamed for Andrew. And then I was trying to find my phone and I just happened to jump on and look on the other side of the bed and there he was.
Yeah.
I could have went to them screaming or, no, why would I do that? They can't help me.
Right.
So, and I also don't know how long he's been gone at that point.
Exactly.
So I don't like that.
No.
Without looking at a call log, I can't give you the exact time, but on or about 6:20.
And had you guys been talking on the phone before 6 a.m. or did you initially call Mr. Proudfoot at the time you realized Sebastian was gone?
I called him when I realized Sebastian was gone.
Yeah. Everything's 3 hours. And when was the lights? When was the flashlight video? What time?
3:09.
Okay. So he said from 9 to, and he says it took 3 hours to get from where he's going, right? So just say he was on the phone with her from 9 to 12. Well, then she even, and I believe about the dog thing too, putting the dogs away. Cause she said, well, he tells, and she describes it perfectly.
Yeah.
So I think he did tell her to put the dogs up and then he shows, and then all of a sudden there's flashlights 3 hours later.
Yeah.
So 9 to 12 is a 3 hour span with time he's telling you it takes to get there. From 12 to 3, all of a sudden there's flashlights in the yard. And then from 3 to 6, guess what happens? 3 hours later, a phone call's made.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys been out looking for Sebastian?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Yeah.
We
I heard they've been out.
were given information that you guys have left the home. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
You see Chris' shoulders drop. He didn't want to answer
Why?
that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to work.
But you just said it
You're
was up
going
in
back
the
to
air.
work. What about you, Miss Proudfoot?
Yeah. Yeah. What work?
Didn't you
And that's
just
what
say
I'm saying.
it was up in the air in the
Yeah, he
same?
just said in the very beginning he wasn't. It was undetermined if he was going to go back or not. It was up in
And
the
that,
air.
and, okay, and now he's saying this is the same interview.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like 30 minutes.
we're only 20 minutes into it, 24 minutes
Yeah.
into it. And he's already changed that he's working.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
And I'm not going back to work. Not yet, at least.
Did you leave the home also, Miss Proudfoot?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
To accompany my husband going back to work, and then I'm coming back.
Is he a baby?
Okay,
Yeah.
when will
Yeah.
you be back? Do
Yeah.
you know yet?
You should be at home waiting for your real
No,
baby.
not yet.
Right.
Are you
How can you
concerned
go
about
away?
being
I have to
away?
escort my giant baby to work.
Yeah. How could you do that knowing your child's missing? What if they come in the middle of the day or the middle of the night and want in?
And want you.
Yeah, because they know
Yeah,
he's not going to come to the house in the middle of the day or in the middle of the night.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. This,
In my
and you
opinion.
can just feel their aura. They're all muddy feeling and gross, and you can tell they're just. Yeah, I mean, this is not the same kind of feel you got when you watched again some of the other parents of
Right.
the kids like Gannon's parents and things like that. So
Right.
totally different vibe.
Yeah.
While the search is ongoing?
Absolutely, I am.
Then why are you going?
Because my son could be anywhere, and we're looking everywhere and anywhere.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, no sense at all. She didn't even know. She don't even believe it. She
I've
don't
got
even
a
believe what she
question
just
for
said.
you.
Yes,
I want
ma'am.
to find out about Mr. Proudfoot hitting Sebastian with a belt. What happened?
That was actually several years ago, and it
To
was
Mr. Proudfoot,
one-
to Mr. Proudfoot, to Mr. Proudfoot.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Proudfoot, what happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you were asking Katie. Sebastian had gotten in trouble. He got caught lying. And I had asked him, I said, hey, you got to have a punishment for this. He says, yes, sir. And I said, okay. So I gave him a swat with a belt on his buttocks on the outside of his clothes, one swat.
So we all know that's not probably how it went down because
Right.
people downplay whatever they do. And again, I'm going to say kids lie. If it was me, I would never do that for that.
Right.
There's
Right.
other options other than for telling a lie. And again, I don't know how much I believe the story, like you said, of it even being a lie. But
Yeah.
he's a kid. That's what kids
Right.
do. You teach them right from wrong.
Right.
So
What did he lie about?
I honestly don't remember at the time.
exactly.
It was probably
Don't
something
remember
dealing
because it
with
didn't
school,
fucking
'cause that's
happen.
It's so,
majority where his issue
so
lied.
little of importance he can't remember.
Did he have other issues?
But he had
at
to beat
school?
it. He had to hit him with the belt though for it.
Right. That's
Some
how
behavioral stuff,
But you
nothing
can't even remember what
too
it was
crazy.
about.
Right.
What kind of behavioral stuff?
He has a hard time. He's like awkwardly socially like blending in with students. So it's a little.
How is that a behavioral problem?
He's trying to figure out how to do it,
Yeah, that's not a behavioral
but
problem.
respecting people's space. He gets a little too close.
Joke.
And then kids don't really accept that too much, so it kind of causes an issue.
I wonder if anybody ever told him the way he runs his mouth is super offensive to people, and it's basically getting in their space. So, I mean, I think it's freaking ridiculous.
But he'll
he's a joke.
not stop, and he continues on. So then it causes an issue, and instead of being honest about it, he'll lie. Like, no, I didn't. Okay, Sebastian.
He probably didn't mean it that way.
We're lying about
Yeah.
Was that the first time?
Probably just trying to
was
play.
that the first time you had ever hit him with a belt?
Yes, ma'am. The one and only time, actually.
Oh, he gets defensive about that.
When was this?
Yeah.
Years ago, ma'am.
No, this is funny.
Any idea how many? 3, 10, 1?
It probably at least 3 years ago.
Yeah, another 3.
I don't understand how that turned into a CPS or Child Protective Services complaint. How were they
That
alerted
that
that you hit him with a belt?
that did not turn into a
Isn't that a lie,
CPS service call.
There were other CPS reports, right? Were they regarding your other child?
There is one in regards to my daughter that I know of out in New Mexico with my ex-wife and myself.
What happened?
At the time, my ex-wife had fled to New Mexico with my daughter. We were going through a custody and a divorce case at that time. And at the time, when I'd call and try to check in on my daughter, I could never reach my ex-wife at that time. So a welfare check was requested. Law enforcement told me to call CPS if I had concerns. So I called CPS. Law enforcement did make a welfare call, and that was it.
Then how does that turn into a CPS complaint against you?
I have no idea, ma'am. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. So this dude has CPS cases all over the damn United States at this point. And again, enough weren't done in just the home alone with Katie and Sebastian. So yeah, CPS needs to find some way to start connecting all these.
Yeah.
Because it should be just like anything else. Everything
Right.
should be connected for this kind of
Right.
stuff.
Yep.
Out there right now in regards to my New Mexico case that actually has no relevance to the Sebastian
No, it actually
case.
does.
It does. Yeah.
Then
Lots
was
of
there
relevant.
even a CPS complaint against you in New Mexico?
Not that I am aware of. And my attorney and myself are well educated on my case, and there's nothing that we know of.
Was there a TRO taken out against you regarding
Yes, ma'am.
your daughter?
Not a TRO, but a TPO.
A temporary protective order. Why was that taken out?
So in regards to that case, my ex-wife had a TPO put against her in Tennessee at the time. When we went to court, that got dissolved. I was ordered to hand my daughter back over to my ex-wife at the time. She gets in a truck. She fleds to New Mexico. 2 days later, she files one in retaliation.
Okay, so I'm already confused. He just said, I thought, that it was a welfare check, and then it wasn't a CPS case, and it was a CPS case, but then all of a sudden it was a CPS case on him, and now there's a protective order?
Yeah, there was. Yep.
So that he couldn't be around the mother and daughter?
Right.
So this is what I'm saying. What the hell is this dude even out doing on the streets anyways?
Because I don't think in my opinion, I don't think the CPS report was of what he said. I believe it was on Nina's children. She has 2 children.
Right. Didn't he allegedly bust a kid's lip? A little girl?
I think
was it Nina's?
It was Nina. So I think that's where the CPS report actually goes with that. I don't think it actually goes how he said.
Where the protective order would have came in place at that point because it's
they're not gonna put a protective order against you
unless you've done something. Yeah, that's not like an accusation. Like they have proof that you're doing stuff.
Do a welfare check and then just come back and put one on there unless there's a reason for it.
Right.
Is it still in place?
No, ma'am. That was dropped within, I think, 2 weeks of it being put in place.
That's laughable to him.
I've got a question about the belt incident. You're telling me that was the only time that you ever hit Sebastian with a belt?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're also telling me that did not make it to CPS?
No, ma'am, that did not.
How did that not?
So with that being said, we'll pause that
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Regarding Fates?
So because so you can see her face that she's like, you're full of it. That is one of the ones
How
that
did
made
that
it.
how did that not make it?
Oh, it did. And even if it didn't, what things did you do that did make it?
Right.
Because
Well,
if that's laughable to you and didn't make it, then what'd you do that did?
because there are 5 out there.
Right.
And then he says, then he comes back. It hasn't been too long ago. And he says, well, there's not 5, there's 3.
Well, see, and then I heard I haven't heard him say that yet, that there's 3. I've heard that there was 4, and then people thought one was on her. So what did he say about the 3? Did he go into more detail about why he's saying now it's only 3?
I don't know what channel he said it on. I probably could find it out.
God, as much as he floats around like a social butterfly to all these channels, it's getting
I know.
difficult to know where he's
And
starting and
that's
stopping.
probably why I haven't know what channel is, because I think he said it on the hate channels, because that's the only place he goes.
Yeah.
But he said there weren't 5 CPS reports, there were 3. Okay, 3's too many.
Yeah.
Whether there's 5 or 3, but I did hear one of them, and I did hear this from Tony, and it was on one of Seth's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Tony did say one of them was against, and he didn't say Katie. He said one of them, he said 4 of them was against the step parent and 1 was against the parent. So I'm assuming the one against Katie was not preventing the other stuff from happening.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. They can do that. You know, like if they feel that you're like protecting them and let it happen, they will put it on you too.
Right.
You know, because it is. I mean, you're letting it happen. You're supposed to be stopping it, you know. So and it is her responsibility in that situation. Again, she's the guardian.
I don't know if it's on Josh's channel. Do you know Josh?
Is that the name? What's the name of the channel?
The Lab.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So I don't know if it's on Josh's channel or on Seth's channel.
Okay.
But Tony's, it's on one of those 2 channels. Tony says that there are 5 CPS reports and that one of them is against the parent and 1 is against the step parent. He's very quick, he's very careful not to say names.
Right.
But
it would be interesting to know what hers is for, though, if it is hers, allegedly, if it is. And, I'm just saying it would be interesting to know. But like I said, more than likely, it might be for the reason you're saying, for not preventing something.
And it could be for not preventing and doing something.
Yeah, because neglect is the same thing.
Yeah.
And Peter Hyatt made a big point out of that. Just because, she didn't maybe physically or say a lot of things, not paying attention and turning a blind eye is just as bad, because something, you're not. And that's what he was saying about the Summer Wells. That was bred by neglect.
Right.
That situation from the parents just doing, whatever substances they were doing, or just not paying attention, being so wrapped up in their own crap that something happened.
Right.
And it was because they were neglectful. So I think if anything, in my opinion, she's definitely neglectful from what I see, and I don't know. So again, this is just my opinion from what I'm seeing so far.
I think she was emotionally.
Yeah. And I think that's the worst, really, in certain situations, especially a mother.
Yeah.
A mother's supposed to be nurturing and all those things.
But I just don't feel like she was that way before, because there's pictures of her and him when he was way younger, and she just looked actually happy with her child.
Yeah. I did see one where it's like they're in the house. That's what I said. It just seemed, and that's why I said it was like she was all about him until like something, I'm just not all of a sudden, it's like, it would be interesting to know the time frames of when certain things happen.
Chris has admitted that he did call him R, because he went on somebody's channel, one of the haters, and apologized for it. It's too late now.
Yeah, but you should be apologizing to him. If anything, why are you apologizing to the whole internet?
Yeah.
Why don't you get on the internet and say, I'm so sorry, Sebastian, for what I said?
Yeah, and don't do it now.
Yeah,
it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
You should have done that before you did to him what you did.
Yeah.
I don't think he's sorry. I think he's doing it for damage control, because it got out that he said it, and now he can't do anything about it. And even the haters still stay with him.
Yeah. Well, they're in it for a reason. We all know that. As we've all been on YouTube long enough to know, I think, in the sense of, like you're saying, like what we just realized we've been on here for 6 years together.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, like we've watched them come and go and stuff, and people just unfortunately, like want to be this dramatic shock factor. and they want to be the first ones to say this or do that and show
Yeah.
you this, you know, and that's all great and stuff. Like I think I fall backwards a lot of times in what I do. I wait a lot until the end. Like even this happened last year. I just started, you know, I did a reading on it. Like I said, again, probably in October, I believe it was. And then I didn't look back into it until recently. And all this stuff has happened. Like I said, I saw him, like I told you, I saw him in an orange shirt and it looked like in a courtroom. And I was like, yep, they got him. I was like, I'm good. You know, that was months ago. And then I realized that wasn't what happened. And I was like, oh, it's so sad. Where have I been?
I hope,
You know,
it's just, I hope it's a sign of the future.
I think so. I mean, there's a lot of pictures of it. I mean, they already look so, I mean, you look at them right there. I mean, just put them in the clothes and take away the background. You know what I mean? Like it's right there. That's what I'm saying. You look at them and it's already like, you, like if you were to take this off the sound, just watch them talk, you'll get the feeling in your gut.
Yeah.
So, and again, you know, praying for Sebastian to come home day and night.
Right.
So, you know, I'm hoping that these two idiots just are idiots, just what they are. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping they just have fucked up every interview because they're stupid. You know, and I'm just hoping that's all this is. And, you know, him trying to get attention because obviously he's a attention seeker. You know, so I mean that's why he's going to all these channels. So again, I'm just hoping that we're all reading this wrong. I hope that, you know, I'm just wrong. I hope we're all wrong about it, you know?
Yeah.
But we'll just have to continue to go on. Time sees. I do feel like we're at a point where more things are going to start moving because more people are getting pissed and more people are tired of waiting because there's just no reason for it, you know?
And it's getting dangerous.
It is getting dangerous because of what's happening on YouTube in the sense of, you know, you can only be baited for so long before you really do just finally. And that's what people need to understand too. Like they expect, you know, some people on here to not react or not have certain reactions. You don't know what you would do.
Right.
You know, and you better pray to God you never know what you have to do.
Right.
In this situation is all I got to say. So people come in pulling up stuff that, well, they did this 3 years ago. Like, and I'm not talking about like what Chris did. He's got a lot of stuff that you can pull up, in my opinion, that are all alleged things. So, you know, this is all stuff that you can pull out fact-wise. I don't want to hear what somebody's personality was like.
Right.
You know, as far as his, there's facts to back it up.
Right.
So I don't have an issue listening to that. You got facts to back it up. You can see very much his behavior. It's all true. So, I mean, some of the stuff that they're slinging around in all the opposite directions and, you know, towards, you know, the bio dad, stuff like that, I think that just needs to stop. They just need to tell the truth, help us find Sebastian, and cut the crap now.
Yeah.
It's fucking old. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. It's enough. You know what I mean? They're acting like children. They're acting like straight children. Children behave better than this, actually.
Oh, I know. And they're trying to take the billboard down. Why? Why would you want to take the billboards down?
Yeah. Why is it so upsetting and triggering for him?
Yeah.
Why is that what took him on some huge rant?
Yeah.
And like you said, and like you're saying, look at the billboards and what they say, and it'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
So he's telling you, and she's telling you, and every single thing that they do and say that they know more is all I'm going to say, and that is in my opinion, and I allegedly feel that they know more.
Yep.
If that's even the proper way to say it, I don't know anymore. So,
in our opinion, allegedly, this is how I feel. Yeah. Yeah.
Find Sebastian, bring him home.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, sweet little Sebastian, Wayne, Drake, Roger.
That's right.
So, all right. So on this one, we're going to stop here because there's another 30 minutes and we're already like 2 hours into it. So we will go ahead and I will check with you soon and see whenever you're able to kind of get back with me. And then we'll kind of finish off the second part of this interview if you are up for it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Miss Tammy, for joining me. And I will also put your channel in the description for everyone so that y'all can go ahead and click on that and go ahead and check out her channel and subscribe there. Again, there's lots of interesting Summer Wells information and info that you're going through. And you said that you're trying to do a live. What is it about? Like every Wednesday you try, or it kind of
Yeah, I try to. It's once a week. I wish I could go more, but I can't squeeze it in there. But I try to do Wednesday nights at 9:30.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So if y'all are interested in that, again, check out her channel, subscribe, and then go ahead and put on that notification bell so you get notifications for when she goes live. So y'all can chat with her about Summer Wells. So again, thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your night, and I'm looking
You
forward
too.
to chatting with you about the rest.
Yes, ma'am, my friend. Love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night. Bye.